Hello, this is Divya, and I want to share with you today. We have Alex Cano. Alex is a professional and leadership consultant for individuals as well as for organizations. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, welcome, Divya. How are you? Thanks for the invitation.
Good, good. Well, thank you for joining us. So, Alex, share with us, what drove you to become a consultant in this area?
Well, it's been something that I have been doing for a long time during the company that I have worked for in my professional career. So I have really learned a lot of different things. I have been able to apply many different methodologies. So share that with companies, other companies and individuals, so they can also have better results, right? So it's been a journey. It's been over 20 years of learning different methodologies, applying different methodologies. So all that came into, okay, so let's build a business to share all that knowledge and expertise with other professionals and companies.
So can you share with us the journey that you have been through and what, you can share stories and what you've picked up along the way, what you stand for.
Yeah.
This is your floor. Take your time.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but I have many different positions in my career. I have pretty much worked in every area in more than 10, serving more than 10 different industries. So I have all kinds of experiences. I have worked with people all around the world, which has been a pleasure. So through that experience, I learned something. I learned that if you want to create changes, that always creates resistance. So when I acquired that knowledge, I can say I started a journey to learn what is change management, organizational psychology, because I was doing a lot of projects. I was doing a lot of work on the project management part. I was doing regular project management, also Lean and Six Sigma, and many other methodologies. But then I figured, I understood that that wasn't enough, because really when I had a challenge, the challenge wasn't because I didn't know how to use a technical tool. The challenge was how to create change, how to help people to go through that change in order to be successful, not only in the project, but also in their careers, in their personal life, because everything is tied up. I mean, you cannot say, oh, this is only personal and this is only business. Everything goes together. So how do I create that change? How do I help people to go to that? So I started another journey and learn how to do that. So I got involved into learning change management, as I mentioned. I did a master on organizational psychology. So that gave me that knowledge. But then I came to another situation. I go, so I have a lot of knowledge. I have technical knowledge and the human part, but how do I combine it? Because they are not connected and there's really no connection between them right now. So I got very good knowledge. So then what I did is I combine everything. I started to combine concepts from all that to create a new method, which is what I use in my business right now. And that method combines all these strategies from both the technical and the human part to make it more efficient. So for instance, when I learned change management, which is it has good expertise, I didn't know how to, no one explained me how to connect that into projects or how to connect it into real life. So then I start to figure that out myself, start to apply it in different stages to find the right tuning. So that's how I say, hey, I need to share this. So that's why I created the business to share this methodology, which I call Agile Change Lean Sigma 5.0.
So sounds like a very interesting methodology. Can you tell us in details how it is?
What I can say is a good result that comes from this is the quickness. Is quicker than other methodologies. Also, it's a very holistic approach because it's not only technical or only human, it's both together. And normally you don't have that. And then you have a problem and try to connect them, right? So for instance, when we start a process, we always think about why we need to change. And that comes from change management and organizational psychology, right? If you don't use that, you never question that. You just go ahead and do things, right? So in this methodology, the first step is actually that. You say determine. So determine what needs to change and why before you even start doing anything, right? Before you start doing change, what needs to change and why? There has to be a big why. And this applies for individuals or for companies. If the why is not strong enough, when challenge come, when you start to make changes, you won't have enough drive to create the changes. So that's why we started. And there is a full process that you need to follow to get to that point. Another thing that you do in that step is to be sure that you align that with your company's goals and strategy or with your personal goals and strategy. And the second part is you have to define, in this case, we call it project and change initiative because it covers everything, right? It covers projects or covers personal change. So to do that, you need to define it. So you want to do it, good. Now, what exactly do you want to accomplish? You have to have it clear in your mind, right? So you go to a process to be clear and define what is your goal, when do you want to accomplish, what exactly you want to accomplish. So you have clarity in what you're going to accomplish. Then the next step is to understand your situation, right? You need to understand where you are, what is going on right now, so you know what is driving your situation, because you cannot make changes unless you understand that. Normally what happens is that when we want to do things quickly, we jump ahead and do things, but we don't know what's really going on. We think that we know the solution, but if we don't take the time to understand what is happening, to collect information from people, from systems, from also data systems, you don't really understand what's going on. And then with that, you are able to define what is driving the situation, what is the root causes. Some in technical training, they call it root causes. I will say it's more than that. It's more like what is driving the whole situation from the human and the technical part. Then once you have that clarity and you understand the driving forces behind your situation, then you can define a plan. The next step is change to improve. Now you want to create changes, right? But you want to create changes from the technical part and the human part. If you go with only one or the other, something is missing. And then change won't happen as quickly as you want it. So you have to work with the human part a lot, not only the technical part. So that's the idea of this, have an holistic change, right? Then you go ahead and change, create those changes, make those improvements, and the results are really, really good, especially because it comes from both sides. And that's, I will say that's really the key part, that you have an holistic change, right? So you have your results. Most likely in project, you're going to get your goals, right? In your career, you're going to start to improve or maybe already get there. But then it comes the last step, which is the most important one. How are you going to sustain it? The last step, which is reinforce to sustain, we look at how do I sustain changes from behavior and the technical side. So I want to put something together that reinforces both, because at the end, changes happens because there's a change on behavior, right? Things won't change unless there is a change on behavior. It's not matter if it's a technical change, like someone is going to look at a process and is going to take data every 2 hours, it's still a behavior change. So if we don't take that into consideration, the change won't sustain, right? So in the last, we work on that. We work on making a plan to sustain behavior that is going to support the technical changes. And that's how things last.
Alex, it makes a lot of sense how you have laid out your process, very detailed, and looking at a lot of different aspects to it. And sounds like, you bring a lot to the table and you'd be able to help either people personally or organizations. So you've talked about a lot of process, and what's next for you?
We have an e-learning platform to deliver certifications to use this methodology. And then we're providing services now to both companies and professionals to use this methodology, not only for projects, because project is one side, right? But how to use it for your professional career too. Because when you have a career, and you want to improve your career, you can also follow this methodology, because at the end, it is the same process. You want to understand why, you want to go through a process and sustain it at the end. So it is the same process. Basically, that's where we are right now, where we are sharing this with the companies and professionals, so they can utilize this and they can have success, as we have been having success using it through different companies and helping our professionals too.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you, can you share your contact information?
Yes, of course. My company name is Alex Cano Consulting and Coaching. My website is www.alex-cano.com. alex.cano@alex-cano.com. My email address is alex.cano@alex-cano.com.
Fantastic. And would you like to leave our audience with one last tip for them?
Yes, I will say that if you need to go through a change, the most important part is the human factor. No matter what is the change, if the people that you're working with don't see value on the change won't happen, or it's going to take a lot of effort. There has to be something good for them. Think about that all the time. So if you want to ask people to make a change, I always think, what is the value for them? Is there something good for it? Because if there's nothing good for them, there's no point of making the change. Right? Change has to be for something good and good for all people. Or we really need to take care of our people. So that's part of. I would say that's the most important part.
Well, Alex, thank you for joining us. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thanks for the invitation.